All right, so hey everyone, thank you all for joining. This discussion is actually about college fit, which I know is a very important topic for many of our student families, especially right now. Um, if you are a sophomore or junior, I think talking about college fit is, I think, a pretty good use of time right now. I think maybe for sophomores less so, but juniors definitely. Um, And even if you're a seventh or eighth grader parent, it's not so much a conversation you want to have with your students yet, but there are things in here that you can be doing with your student to assess things like affordability. So we're going to try to keep this, I'd say, to about an hour or so, and let's just get started. So, quick thing about us. So I'm the founder of StrivePath. So my background involves investment banking. Worked in healthcare technology for a number of years. Went to Cornell and Columbia, and I actually built this company because of this belief that we should really focus this whole strategy on the student, not the college. That high school is just as long as college, if not longer, depending on the number of credits you use when you matriculate at college. So therefore, the importance really should be, how do we make the most out of high school, right? How do we spend time developing our students holistically? And if we do a good enough job doing that, then I think the whole college process becomes a lot easier. It becomes an output rather than an input. So my company, StrivePath, has been around. We're pretty new on the block, and I think what makes this actually really interesting is, so we're very, very data oriented. We are integrated into the community. Like, we know our schools very, very well. We strive on and we thrive on in-person versus virtual to help form strong connection to their students. And again, our whole philosophy and our approach is centered around the student, not the college. Okay? So let's actually get right into the discussion. So I'm going to start off with a quick little story about when I was reminded of fit over prestige. And so this is a story of a student that we had actually worked with a couple of admission cycles ago. And so she received offers into a couple of Ivy League universities. And she also received an offer into a large and very well-known state school. Now, what she was debating was, should she go to this large state school, which for here we'll just assume that it's Michigan, or should she go to one of the two Ivies that she had received admission to? Now, I think what was actually, I think what made this just like really remarkable for me was she made a decision based on where she wanted to attend versus where she felt like she had to attend. And, with the Ivies having been to two of them, it almost feels like there's an obligation to have to attend, right? Whereas with her, she made her choice based on like where she felt more at home, and that was the state school. And so she made an incredibly, incredibly hard decision, and she's incredibly happy with it because she made the right decision, because she looked for fit and not prestige. So I wanted to share that to kind of set some context. And let's take a look now with with respect to fit and why it matters. So there's quite a bit of literature on this actually, and we've got some literature, I think, kind of for some some stats kind of peppered throughout this presentation. But students who actually attend a college that fits them are more likely to graduate on time and have higher GPAs. And I think just even more saliently, one of the things that we really try to minimize is the likelihood of having to transfer colleges. College transferring is a very, very costly process, both in terms of time and economics, and just emotionally, it's really hard. And so our whole perspective and our belief is, the more we can front load a lot of that decision-making process, and the more that we can front load a lot of those questions and really assess what's valuable to the student, I think the better of a job we'll do, right, at kind of finding out that right fit for that student, which should hopefully kind of drive down the likelihood of transferring. So something I quickly want to share here. And as we think about the different types of colleges. So there are three types of colleges, if you will. So going left to right, we got private liberal arts colleges. So this is like a Swarthmore, Amherst. We've got private research institutions. This could be like a Stanford or many of the Ivies. Public research institutions. So this could be like the large state schools, right? So as we kind of go top to bottom now, you'll notice that there is a progression of themes. So focus. So private liberal arts, they emphasize undergraduate education in liberal arts fields. So like Pomona is primarily an undergraduate school, right? Cornell, I'm an alum, so I have to bring up Cornell, emphasizes both undergraduate and graduate. The CALs, right? So like the UC system, undergraduate and graduate. Class size. So if you go to a Swarthmore or a Scripps, you've got smaller class sizes, very personalized attention. If you got a St. Mary's, right? Similar. Now, as you go to the more from private to public, you're going to have larger and larger class sizes. Again, because class sizes are small, you're going to have very low student to faculty ratios at the private liberal arts, and it's going to get larger as you go towards the public research. Now, with research, it's actually kind of like the inverse. You have limited, but you do have more access to professors, right, at these small liberal arts colleges. Now, if you go to the private research institutions, you have a lot of research opportunities and there's a lot of resources, and the same with public research, right? But it's going to be important for you to find those research opportunities. Campus life, there's close-knit, there's diverse. Even with private liberal arts, actually, you can find ones that have like diverse. So an example is the Claremont schools down in Los Angeles, where you've got 8 different schools, or 6 to 8 schools, sorry, that all kind of share, I'd say, like a common campus. And what's nice about them is, you may belong to a Pomona, Scripps, Harvey Mudd, Claremont McKenna, but a lot of the extracurricular activities are actually kind of shared, and they're so students from Pomona may go to and may be part of an extracurricular club that belongs to a different school. So they can be close-knit, but I think there are opportunities for a lot of these LACs, like liberal arts colleges, to intermix. Highest degree conferred, so bachelor's, and then obviously with the research institutions, you're looking at doctoral or professional. And then funding. So funding for LACs are primarily tuition, donations, big part, and endowments. And then for private and public, so private, it's about the same actually as the LACs. Something else I'd maybe add here would be like research funding too. So they might have a tech transfer office. They might be making some money off of like licensing agreements. And then public research, it's about the same as private, but you also have state funding. And that, by the way, will impact, I'd say, some of the mandates that exist at some of these schools. Okay, so now let's go into the 4 main components of fit. And we kind of break it down to really these 4. So there's financial, which is, can we afford it? Academic. This is not just competitive or collaborative, it's also, do they offer the right academic degrees or offerings that are of interest to me that would actually meet me where I need to be met? And when I am being challenged academically, like, how can I be supported by this school if things going to go awry, right? How accessible are professors? Social, we kind of put this very simply, do I like the vibe? Environmental, which is beach or mountains, right? How large is the campus? So we're going to go into each one of these now. And we'll do some exercises, which I think will be kind of cool, which will be kind of fun. So financial fit is actually your very first filter, and it's critical for families to align on affordability first. And the reason why is this will just help prevent disappointment and incredibly hard decisions later down the road. And so if you are a parent of, a 6th, 7th, 8th grader, these are things that you can be doing now, right? You don't have to discuss college with your student, but these are, I'd say, this could be like a very valuable use of time for you to kind of conduct an exercise, which I'll actually walk you through next. Okay. With college costs, the other thing too is it's a lot more than just tuition. So there's obviously tuition and fees, room, board, books, and supplies. You can read this. This can significantly vary depending on the college and the location. So I think for Cal, as an example, The additional fees can be somewhere around, $20,000 to $30,000, right? Can also vary a lot depending on, so like location. If you're at Columbia, way more expensive than if you were at Oklahoma. And also if the student is living on campus or chooses to commute, right? So now, with respect to the aid types, there are two major aid types. So one is merit-based awards, and we actually have some data on this, and I'll walk you guys through it in a second. But with merit-based, it's really a discount against the cost of attendance. And this can be based on academic, non-academic factors. Generally, the more selective the institution, the less likely they'll grant merit-based awards. For example, the Ivies actually don't grant any merit-based awards. And then you also have need-based awards. So work-study programs, need-based scholarships, loans, which can be institutional or private or government, right through FAFSA. And public institutions are more likely to provide aid via loans than through grants. So that's just like something else to keep in mind. And we actually took a look at this data. So let me just pull up something really quickly. So we actually mined data for over 300 colleges. We looked at financials, we looked at a deep dive on their admissions data, we looked at rankings, we looked at all of this stuff, okay? And so then we took a look at like how much aid do these schools actually give out based on selectivity. And lo and behold, this is what we found. So this is like, I think, mostly indicative, but it's reflective of what I just showed on the previous screen. So those that were very selective, very little, this is, by the way, this is non-need-based aid. Very little non-need-based aid given, right? But now as you go down in selectivity, obviously the non-need-based aid starts to go up, right? So that's the key thing with merit-based aid. As the selectivity goes down, merit-based aid goes up, typically higher for privates and publics. And for publics, typically higher aid in the form of loans. Cool. Now the other thing that I want to cover is, so this is the exercise that I want to cover with parents. So it's important for you to assess financial fit. And the reason, of course, is for you to kind of set expectations earlier, right? Align on how you pay for college and how you're able to reasonably pay or save, and complete the net price calculator. Do this annually, and we'll walk through this in the next slide. And we suggest 4 different school types. So if you're in California, in-state public could be UC or CSU. Out-of-state public, part of WUI. So for those who don't know, so it is an interstate tuition savings program, and it's about 160 public schools that are in the 16 western states. And the way that it works is, if you are a California resident, or if you're a resident in one of these 16 states and you go to a participating school or a school that participates in WUI, you would pay 1.5 times the in-state tuition for that state, right? Versus strictly out-of-state tuition. So it's actually a good way to save money on tuition. And there are some decent schools, there's some great schools in here too. So let's just take a look. So, but the thing to keep in mind, by the way, is it's based on the school and then also the program in the school too. So if you go to ASU, ASU is part of WUI, but not all of ASU is part of WUI. It's just specific colleges within ASU. So here. So Arizona, right? There's ASU. We've also got a bunch of, obviously, California, right? There's UNLV, UN Reno. Utah is a school that a lot of our students consider. Same with Hawaii, Oregon State, Portland State, and Washington. Well, there's Washington State. So this is just a great option for parents to consider as ways to kind of save on tuition costs. Okay. Now the other question we get is, how do I assess the ROI of a particular school? Well, lo and behold, we actually have an ROI link right here. So here, by the way, this is available. If you just look up Georgetown University ROI ranking, you can. This ranks all the colleges by net present value. So, this is actually super helpful. So I think the major finding here is if you primarily go to public school, or if you're like a very selective school, you've got the highest ROI. But of course, I think the thing to keep in mind is it depends a lot on like the major that you pursue, right? How much debt did you take on by the time you graduated? So there's like a lot of other variables that are important to keep in mind here. So let's actually go through a net price calculator, which is the exercise that we highly suggest parents do. So if you just type in like net price calculator, like UC Berkeley, you'll get here, right? Fill this out. Dependent. Let's do campus UC Berkeley. Housing type on campus. Residency status California resident. Next. And you can now just enter all this information in. So married. So family size. Family size is, let's say 4 people. 2 kids, 2 parents. Both. Gross income is 250,000. Sorry, that's really small. Income taxes paid, 87,000 million in assets. Adjusted gross income, other income, student taxes paid, 0, 0, and calculate. Oh, I missed something, other income 0. Just type this in. And then you can see here, so student aid index is 92, so that's effectively like how much the school is expecting the family to pay. Now, obviously, the cost of attendance is 46,000, which means that the family would actually receive like no aid. So this is really important for every family to consider or to conduct, just to set expectations with respect to like how much they would have to owe, right, or pay for college. Okay, so highly suggest you guys do that for the 4 different colleges, just to kind of go back actually. It's in-state public, out-of-state public, part of WUI. Out-of-state public, that's not part of WUI, so that's not part of like the 160 colleges that I just mentioned. And then private could be like a Chapman, Stanford, other Gonzaga, right? So I would highly suggest you do this. Now let's take a look at academic fit, which is effectively matching the academic strengths, resources, environments, and student goals, right? So this is really important, obviously, as well, right? So we go from financial, then to academic. And this obviously has like a large impact on graduation rates, on student engagement and involvement, which is very, very key. You want to make sure that your students are very engaged and very involved on campus. But some things to just kind of think about, right? Because this goes way beyond just the competitive versus collaborative question. This is more like, does the school offer majors, minors, double majors, right? For example, when I was an undergrad, one of the programs that I chose let me do computer science and business as a double major, right? Some people really want to do that. There could also be specialized programs. So an example is Chapman has these 5-year programs. They call them integrated graduate programs, right? Which is, so you apply during your junior year, start taking graduate classwork during your senior year, and you effectively complete 1 additional year of graduate classwork. And so this is like a nice way to get a BA and an MA within 5 years. You also have honors programs. So an example is, we talked about ASU. So here's the honors college at ASU. So these are actually a lot of state schools will offer honors programs and honors colleges. They're actually great in that. And actually, the story that I talked about at the very, very start of the presentation, she's going to an honors program at that state school. So these are great because with honors programs, you get access to different types of housing, like first dibs on certain housing. They're like alumni events. You get access to you get first dibs on certain classes. So they can be really, really helpful, and they can certainly, I think, put you in a more visible spot for some of the opportunities that you might be vying for, right? So definitely check out honors programs, and let's keep going. And then of course we come across candidates who want to do BS ND programs quite a bit, which is, I'd like to do my undergrad and my med school in one shot. which is awesome. I think just for that, for those who are considering BSMD programs, really make sure you're down to do it because it's very intense. And now, of course, you've got students who are unsure what majors, right? And I think there, check out colleges that have very, very open curricula. So an example is Brown. I think with Brown, you define your own curriculum, right? Liberal arts colleges, they're way, way more open and much more flexible with major definition and declaration. And then you also have large universities with diverse academic programs, and those have flexible declaration policies. So these are all, I think, like some things to consider when you think about academic fit. And then, of course, you have aspects or facets like class sizes, teaching styles. So student to faculty ratio is a big, big important one. There's a lot of research on this which shows professor accessibility and research accessibility actually does drive up a lot of student satisfaction and retention. And it does, I think, make more available like research opportunities that are that can be very impactful for a student during their time, at that college. And, access to teaching to TAs versus professors, that's also huge too, right? I think one of the best things you can do in college, one is go to every class. The second is sit at the front of the class. And then the 3 is go to office hours. Those are like the 3 tips if you want to do well in college. Okay. And then there are also just amazing research opportunities. So like this is one thing that our team is really good at doing. We are able to find, I'd say, gems in the rough. So an example is, obviously we work with a lot of computer science majors, right? And we've started to identify these amazing opportunities where there's like a lot of, I'd say, investment being made by alums in computer science departments. For those who have heard of NVIDIA, which will probably be everyone here, the CEO is an OSU alum. So what did he do? He donated to the school to build a supercomputer. And they're actually building this now. And so our whole point's like, look, if you want to go into computer science or engineering, like this is a phenomenal way to get your foot in, like at researching with a supercomputer at the ground up. That's at the ground level. That's amazing. Other things like, Georgia, like UGA is launching a new med school. Like look out for this stuff. These colleges are actively investing academic programs to compete with each other to win you or your student over, right? So take advantage of it, right? Look for those hands-on opportunities. The other thing that's actually missing from this presentation are co-op opportunities. So there are schools like Drexel, Northeastern, which pride themselves on co-op opportunities. And for those who don't know, what a co-op opportunity is you effectively are spending part of your academic year working at a company. And I'll tell you a quick story. So a friend of mine works at Oracle. His daughter goes to Northeastern and they live here. And I was like, oh, Northeastern's interesting. What made you go there? He said, well, Sonny, my company recruits out of Northeastern because we love kids who are part of the co-op program. We hire them when they're students as part of the co-op program. Then when they're done, we hire them for their internship. And then when they're done, they're super employable. So it's just a phenomenal way, right, for students to build some real practical hands-on experience that will really have, I'd say, some dollars and cents tied to it. So highly look at amazing research opportunities and also start to consider co-op opportunities as well. I believe co-op schools are going to start to really become a lot more popular. Okay, and then also assess how you'd be supported, right? Obviously, libraries, study spaces. Do you like where you want to study? For me, it was always at a coffee shop. Like, what are the tech resources? I'd imagine for all schools now, it's going to be pretty solid. They should have tutoring writing centers. Like, if you're behind in a class, how can you, like, what are some of the resources that you can take advantage of to catch you up? And of course, academic rigor and support. So making sure that you have access to the right counselors, right, as you're going through your college track. Making sure that you're graduating on time. So there's one thing that I absolutely love, and like one of Pomona's graduation requirements is that they must graduate within 4 years. Like that is amazing. That is called incentive alignment, right? That's that stuff's great. That means that like all their resources are going to be geared towards making sure that you graduate on time. Okay. Now, social fit. More, does the vibe jive with your student? This again, right? Strong sense of belonging. It's hard to assess, I think, unless you're really on campus. So the best way to really assess this is to go on campus. But the things to look out for, and there are things you can assess actually before you step on campus. I'm wrong. So, like, you can look up student clubs, right? If you want to be part of Greek life. We have a lot of students who are interested in UC Davis, so we're like, go check out Picnic Day. Some students are really interested into going to schools that have like a really big football scene. So we call them like the ESPN schools. So go check those out. You also have demographics. So this can be very important to students. In fact, we've had a few students who say like, look, the political lean of the school is very important to me. Actually, we've had a lot of students say that. So I look into that, right? Maybe going to a school that is in a very conservative or in a very liberal area is not totally of interest to you. That's totally fine, right? That does matter, right? Diversity and inclusion. We've had a student come and say, you know, she's looking for a place where she can just kind of find her people, right? So that stuff really does matter, the demographics. So do look up the demographics. That you can probably do like in advance of visiting campus. But realistically, I think like the best way to really assess is to go visit. Visit during the school year. Ideally, when school is in session, interact with the students. Take the tour, right? But just know that it is college marketing. Talk to alums. And hold on, the slide's getting cut off. So talk to alums, right? Check out discussion boards, look at niche reviews, like check out like student review sites. They would obviously fall secondary to campus visits, but they can still be helpful. And just obviously know that if you're looking at reviews on things like Reddit, just ask yourself, why would someone want to post about this school? They either must really love it or they must really hate it. It's almost like a Yelp review, except schools don't really ask you to leave a Yelp review, right? So yeah. Oh, and then what's also missing too is go to college fairs. Another great way. And this is more about the location size and the location and size, right? This can mean large, small, urban, rural, suburban. Mountains, beach, weather. This can have like a real impact. So yeah, actually, the one that I forgot, distance from home. That does matter to some of our students. They want to be close to home. And so this could also mean like the size of the student body. Some students don't want to go to a school that's very big. Others do. Totally great. Other things that could matter would be like housing options, right? If it's if the dorms are on campus or off campus housing. So I don't want to skip over that, but that stuff is really important. I think again, like the most important thing you can do there is to go visit the campus. And even if you don't have like a list of colleges in mind, just look like if you live in the Bay Area, we live very close to a number of schools, right? Like Davis, Stanford, Cal, Santa Cruz, St. Mary's. Go check them out. They're very different campuses, even like among themselves. If you're going to go on a trip to New York or to Chicago, go visit just a campus or two, right? Ideally, go visit one of those places in the winter. And also that you may actually also find that to be very, very motivating for your student. So next step, so visit a campus, sign up for a tour, right? Plan campus visits for when you travel. And some colleges actually may really care about campus visits. So for instance, Pomona asks dates. Like when you apply, they'll say, give us the dates that you visited and attend a campus tour. And many schools actually value demonstrated interest. So we have put this together in our data set. And this, yeah. So this is like across 300 colleges. These are the campuses that care a lot about demonstrated interest, which is how much interest have you as the applicant demonstrated. So American, Ithaca, Dickinson, August. So like you can see this list. I'll just scroll very slowly so you can see this. Okay. So when they say this is important, when they look at your application, they're going to say, did Sunny visit the campus? How did Sunny interact with us? Right? Are we really important to him? It's like kind of insecure, but it matters to them. Okay. And then we also have this, which is the ED versus RD premium. So ED means early decision. So a lot of these schools actually do have early decision application processes, which means if you apply early decision, you are bound to attend that school if you were to get it. Now, here's what's crazy. So, and then regular decision is just like applying regular. So we looked at the admission rate for those who applied early, the admission rates for those who applied regular. We said, what is the multiple? How much of a greater chance do you have getting in if you applied early versus regular? So we did a division, right? Here's what's interesting. So some of them, slight premium. Look at this, Tulane. Tulane loves early decision students. In fact, I think they have an ED1 and ED2, and I think there's like a third round as well. So they actually try to fill up the majority of their class with early decision. Another one that loves early decision, Bates. So this is actually a really good strategy. So I think at the very least, if you go visit a part of America or even the UK or a different country, and if there's a college close by, just go visit. Right? At the very least, it'll inform you of the type of campus you'll like. And I mentioned, research colleges, so do go to open houses. You've got access to Maya or Naviance, I'm pretty sure, or Excello, so use that. The data's not full. The data's not complete, by the way, so I wouldn't rely on that too much. You can look at Niche. So Niche has like this really cool handy-dandy college quiz. So you can kind of fill this out. It's not going to be entirely accurate, but it's fine. It's a starting point. Check out online forums. There's Reddit. Talk to alums. Talk to friends. But if you're going to talk to alums, just know that their experience will be very different than yours, right? Again, you as a student are really going to be the one experiencing it. So that's why just go check it. Go check out campuses. And for parents, do not forget to do a net price calculator. That is very important. So please, please, please do that each year and every year, and do it for those 4 schools that I outlined. So with that, thank you. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us via email, contact@mystrivepath.com, or you can give us a call, 925-466-3606. And yeah, good luck with your college admissions journey. And don't forget, the most important thing here, how do I stop presenting? There we go. The most important thing across all of this isn't the college, right? It's about you, the student. Because college is going to come and then it's going to go, right? It's only one part of your life. I think what's more important is that you are going for the right reasons. And if you don't know what those reasons are, try to figure them out and go from there. With that, thanks.